Hey guys, so welcome to video 2 in my 5 pillars of fat loss video series. So today we're on pillar 2, and if you haven't watched it already, in pillar 1 we talked about the calorie deficit. So at the end of the last video, we talked about protecting your muscle whilst you're in that calorie deficit. So we said that too aggressive of a deficit will cause your body to break down muscle tissue alongside the body fat that you're going to be burning. And that losing muscle is the last thing that we want during a body transformation phase. All right. So the question is, it's how do we protect it? It's how do we protect our muscle? So the answer is pillar 2. And in my opinion, once you have your calorie deficit in place, the single most important thing that you can get right, and that's what we're talking about in pillar 2 today. So we are talking about protein. All right, guys, so we've established that fat loss does not need to be difficult, but it does need to be done properly. All right, so protein is one of the areas where people either get it right or they get it completely wrong. All right, so they either don't get enough of it or they don't fully understand what it is actually doing for them beyond their muscle, beyond building muscle. So I want to change that today in pillar 2 and video 2 because when you understand what your protein is actually doing inside your body during a fat loss phase, you will never look at it the same way again. So we're going to look at it today and we're going to start, as always, we're going to start with the basics. Okay, so what is protein and what does it actually do? All right, so protein is one of the 3 main major macronutrients, and that's alongside carbohydrates and fats. All right, it's the only one that plays a direct role in building, repairing, and maintaining muscle tissue. Okay, so every time you go to the gym, every time you lift weights, every time you train, you create small amounts of damage in your muscle fibers. Okay, and protein is what your body uses to repair that damage and come back stronger. Okay, so without adequate protein, that repair process is compromised. But here is where it gets really important. Okay, so in the context of a body transformation and fat loss, when you're in a calorie deficit, when your body is looking for an energy source to make up the shortfall, muscle tissue is on the table. Okay, your body will break it down and it will use it for fuel if it needs to. Okay, so adequate protein intake is what signals your body that muscle is not available as a fuel source. All right, so it is a protective mechanism, and this is why protein in a calorie deficit and a calorie deficit is so closely linked. You simply can't separate them. All right, so you get your deficit right and you get your protein wrong, then you will lose weight, but some of that weight will come from muscle as well. But when you get them both right and the weight you lose is fat, that is the difference between looking lean and athletic at the end of your body transformation or just simply looking smaller, and some may consider to be skinny fat. All right, so let's talk about the thermic effect of protein because this is something that most people have never heard of, and it's quite interesting to get across. So every macronutrient has a thermic effect. Okay, so that means that your body burns calories in the process of digesting and processing it. So for carbohydrates, that's roughly 5 to 7% of the calories consumed. For fats, it's actually quite lower, so it's 3 to 5%. So protein, the thermic effect is a lot higher, 4 times higher considered than carbs. So we're looking at around 20 to 30% of the calories consumed. So what that means in practice is that if you eat 100 calories worth of protein, your body will burn between 20 and 30 of those calories simply digesting it. Okay, so it's not a huge number in isolation if you talk about it in one sort of block of 100 calories, but across a full day of hitting your protein target, it all adds up. So that means that protein is inherently more favorable for fat loss than the other 2 macronutrients that we use, and calorie for calorie, we're burning more in the process. All right, and so there is another reason that we sort of prioritize protein with every client, and that is one of the most practical and underappreciated benefits. Okay, so protein is the most filling of the free macronutrients. Okay, it keeps you fuller for longer, it reduces hunger between meals, and research has consistently shown that when people increase their protein intake, they naturally consume fewer total calories. Okay, so without even being told to. So think about what that means for you, on your sort of fat loss phase, in your fat loss, in your journey. So you're already in a calorie deficit, which means you're eating less than your body wants. and that is always going to create some degree of hunger, which can potentially lead to snacking. So protein is your best tool for managing that hunger, okay? So without ever going over your calorie target. So it makes the whole process more sustainable, which as I said in the last video, sustainability is everything. Having a diet that you can sustain over a long period of time will always trump sort of crash diets and potential fad diets, because you can stick to it for longer, and it's built around you, and it's got a good system. So let's look at it then. So how much protein do I actually recommend for clients? Okay, so we looked at it in the last video, and we said we'd go into it in more detail today. So I work from a macro split that we introduced, and we say for male clients, we look at 35% of their total daily calories comes from protein. For female clients, that figure is 30%. So let me just explain the difference, because it's a question that I got twice since the last video went out. It is not that women need less protein to intake more protein. So protein is equally important for muscle preservation in women as it is in men. But the reason the percentage is slightly lower for female clients is that the remaining calories need to be distributed across carbs and fats in a way that supports hormonal health, okay, and overall well-being. So we've seen it and we've sort of read about it. So over the years, women require a higher fat intake relative to their total calories for this reason. All right, which is why we covered the 37.5% fat allocation in the last video. The protein target is still substantial, but it's just balanced differently with the overall split. Okay, so to put this into real numbers, if you've got sort of 180-pound male who's eating roughly 12 calories per pound, so we're looking at around 2,160 calories per day. 35% of those calories will come from protein, which is around 189 grams come from protein, and that lands approximately 1 gram per pound of body weight. Okay, so that's what you'll see the figure that comes from sort of most coaches reference, 1 pound of protein, 1 gram of protein per pound of body fat. So it works for a 140-pound female at 12 calories per pound. We're looking at around 1,680 calories. 30% of those come from protein, and we're looking at 0.9 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So these are not arbitrary figures. They're grounded, they're in research, and they've been refined through the years. So back in the day, 2016, when I first started coaching, some men were looking at around 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body fat. That's definitely been streamlined now, and it's less and less. We sort of look at the research that's been done, and I'm glad to see that it's been refined. So let's talk about where protein actually comes from, because I think this matters quite a lot in terms of whole food sources, what should be your first port of call building your nutrition plan. So we look at chicken, turkey, sort of beef, fish, eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese. These are all foods that should be making up the bulk of your protein intake and the bulk of your nutrition plan. So they come with additional nutrients. They force you to eat real food rather than relying on supplements to hit your target. So we always want to focus on real food. But I want to be honest with you here. So hitting 180 grams of protein per day from whole foods can be quite challenging for a lot of people, especially depending on how many meals they eat per day. If you're busy, you're commuting, you're working long hours, juggling family life, etc. So the reality is that life will get in the way between sort of consuming those whole foods. So if there's a choice of between missing your protein target or using a supplement like whey protein, the supplement wins every time. And this is where whey protein and isolate will come in. And in sort of the next topic, we'll start looking at supplements a little bit more later down the line. But today we can sort of talk about isolate rather than concentrate. So whey concentrate typically contains somewhere between 70 and 80% of protein by weight. The remaining calories come from carbohydrates and fats. Okay, so whey isolate goes through additional processing to remove the lactose and the fat. That leaves you with a product that is typically 90% or more protein by weight. So whey protein is generally cleaner, it's easier on digestion for most people, and it fits effectively into your calorie and macro targets. All right, so one more thing I want to cover, and this is something that people often overlook, and that is the timing of your protein around your training. Okay, so I like to keep it quite simple with my client base rather than overcomplicating things. It leads to sort of analyst paralysis. So the principle ultimately is this. So get protein in around your training window. Okay, so before you train and after you train. Before training, protein provides your muscles with the amino acids they need to perform, reduces muscle breakdown during the session itself, and then after training, your muscles are primed for recovery and protein synthesis. Okay, so getting the protein in post training is where it arguably matters the most. But you don't need to obsess over exact timing windows, okay, or rushing a shake within a 30-minute window post training the moment you sort of put the weight down. So make sure you eat a protein containing meal in the 2 to 3 hours before training is always a good idea. It sort of tees you up in terms of sort of the digestion, and then we look another meal sort of 2 to 3 hours after is a habit that will make a real difference over the course of a 90-day transformation. All right, so let me look at quickly addressing one of the most common mistakes I see. It's not about the total amount of protein, it is simply about how it's distributed across the day. So most people eat very little protein at breakfast. They eat sort of a moderate amount at lunch, and then they pile most of it into their evening meal, their dinner. Okay, so that is not optimal. So your body can only utilize so much protein for protein synthesis in one sitting. So the research suggests that somewhere between 30 and 40 grams per meal is where you get the most benefit. Okay, so anything beyond that is considered excessive use, and it would be used for energy rather than muscle repair itself. So what I see, or what I want to see from clients, is protein spread across every meal and every snack throughout the day. So nice and consistent. Whether it be sort of 3 or 4 meals alongside our snacks, they each contain a solid protein source. And then a shake is always used to bridge any gaps to supplement any lost piece that we get from whole food. So that approach maximizes muscle preservation. It keeps hunger under control from morning to night. Again, it keeps your diet sustainable and limits any sort of outside snacking. All right, so let's bring this together. So protein is pillar 2 for a reason. So it is macronutrient that protects your muscle whilst your body is burning body fat. All right, so it is the most filling of the 3 macronutrients that we have, and it makes your calorie deficit more sustainable. Okay, so it has the highest thermic effect, and it means that your body burns more calories processing it. Okay, protein is the foundation that makes everything else in this series work properly. Okay, so you get your calorie deficit right, you get your protein right, and you have already done more than the vast majority of people who walk into the gym or will start a diet in the year 2026. All right. So if you want all of this built out for you specifically, for you, your sort of schedule, your numbers, your split, your plan, that is exactly what my one-to-one coaching program is for. So the link to apply is in my bio. And again, like I said in video 1, if you do need help, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to help support you. So in the next video, we're going to go on to pillar 3, which is progressive overload. And if you think that protein is important, wait till you hear what we're going to talk about in resistance training in terms of progressive overload, the engine behind everything we have covered so far. So I'll see you there. And like I said, if you haven't already, or if you've got to the end of this video and you haven't watched video 1 yet, please do go back. I believe that once we sort of covered all 5 of our topics here today, you're going to be primed and ready, whether it's to go into a body transformation yourself, or like I said, if you reach out to me and we build one together. So thank you for tuning in. That's video 2 done. That's protein. That's pillar 2. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.